What's good, math family? In this video, we're going to look at the most common linear equations and slope questions you'll see on the Algebra 1 EOC and how to properly solve. In this first problem, we're dealing with a keme and weight gain. And the reason why students get this type of problem wrong is because they don't understand the relationship between weight and week. And this is what I mean. So in the problem, it tells us that he hopes to gain 0.5 and 1 pound per week. So remember that we're talking about slope. So we're dealing with rise over run. And this is the first important piece of information we need to understand. What do I mean? So when we go there, right, that 0.5 is just a slope of 1 over 2. And then the 1 pound per week has a slope of 1 over 1. So what does this mean? Well, let's start off with the easier one. So when we start off at the starting point, 140 pounds, we know what? Every week he gains 1 pound. So we have a rise over run of 1 to 1, right? So we go up 1 over 1. We would be in region number 2. Now let's say we went back to the half a pound a week. And if we're using rise over 1, guess what? We're saying that for every week that passes, he gains half a pound. Half a pound. So when we look at this, we use our rise over run and we go up 1 over 2, right? Because that's the slope of 1/2. So we know that we would be in region A if he was gaining half a pound per week, right? But now the question actually asks us, it says, what region would he be in if he gains more than 1 pound per week? So when we put that in terms of rise over run, we could say 2 over 1, 3 over 1, and so forth. So now I go back to my graph and let's see. So we start at 140. He's gaining 2 pounds per week. So we go up 2 over 1, and we notice that now we're in region C. So if he gains more than 1 pound per week, he would be in region C for his weight gain. In our next example, they always want us to match the equation of a line to the graph. So we need to know that this takes the format y is equal to mx plus b. And to start off, let's always identify what b is, that y-intercept. And when we look here, we have a y-intercept at 0, -5. So I know my y-intercept's -5. When I look at answer choice A, it has the incorrect y-intercept. When I look at B, I know this is not the correct answer because we have a negative slope. This is a positive slope. It's on an incline. A negative slope would be something like this that is going on a decline. So B is gone. Now, to figure out which answer this is, we just need to go and pick at least one other point on the graph. I picked 3. And if we do the rise over run for these, right? Let's see. I go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. So this gives me a rise over 1 of 3 over 1. And if we want to be sure and double check, if we do the second 2 points, 1, 2, 3 over 1, I know that the correct answer would be C. Y is equal to 3x minus 5. This problem is different than the previous graph problem because we're dealing with point slope form and it's not in the final slope intercept form, right? And that point slope equation is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So after we simplify this, what we are going to get is y plus 1 is equal to 2x minus 2, just distributed. Now we subtract 1 on both sides to get y by itself. Y is equal to 2x minus 3. Now, like the last problem, we're checking for the y-intercept first, right? We're checking for b, which is -3. So A is incorrect because it has the wrong y-intercept. B is incorrect because it has the incorrect intercept. But C and D have the correct intercept. So now we're going to focus on the slope, the rise over run. So I pick in a second point for C. And when I do my rise over run, I notice that I get 2 over 1. So I know M is equal to 2. When I look at D now and I do the same process, pick another point and I do the rise over run, I notice that I get 1 over 2. So M is equal to 1 over 2. So we know off rip that what? C is the correct answer, but they're hoping that with D, you got your rise over run incorrect, meaning you flipped it, and that's how you could possibly end up with D. But let's say now they ask us to write the equation of a perpendicular line that passes through the point 1, negative 1. How would we do it? So first, we have to remember we're using that point slope formula, right? Y minus y1. Highlighted it for you. And once we go through now, this is how we would do it. We'll just substitute. So we'd have y minus negative 1, right? That turns into an addition problem, is equal to, and never forget, perpendicular slopes are the negative reciprocal from the original slope. So if it was positive 2, it now becomes negative, and I flip the reciprocal, right? 2 over 1 becomes 1 over 2. Then we finish the rest of the problem, x minus 1. After I simplify, we're going to have y plus 1 is equal to negative 1 half x plus 1 half. So to finish this problem, we're just now going to subtract 1, right? And when we simplify this now, we'll get y is equal to negative 1 half x minus 1 half. So if they asked you for the equation of a perpendicular line to the original equation, this is how you would do it. Do not forget the negative reciprocal, and we're on to our next example of this video. All right, so now they're asking us to find the slope from a table, and they're always going to ask you this type of question. Now, the reason why I highlighted those 4 points is because you could use any combination to figure out the slope. Any 2 points you use is going to get us the same slope no matter what. As long as you put it in right, that is. You put it in right. So we're going to use that formula. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you properly plug in, it's going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with 0.2 and 0.3 because I just like working with positive numbers, okay? So when I fill this in, M is equal to what? All right, let's look at Y. We have 7 minus 4 over 2 minus 8. And once I simplify, I'm going to get M is equal to 3 over negative 6. Anytime you have a fraction, please always reduce. So this is negative 1 half. So our answer choice is going to be D. Now let's just say they wanted you to write the equation of a line. So for us to do that, right, remember we had that formula y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So to do that in this problem, we have the slope. M is equal to negative 1 half. Now we could pick any one of these points. The point that I'm going to pick is going to be 8, 4. Just want to work with positive numbers. So now I'm going to fill this out, right? So we have y minus 4 is equal to negative 1 half x minus 8. Now I go through and simplify. Y minus 4 is equal to negative 1 half x plus 4. Simplify by adding 4 on both sides to get y by itself. Y is equal to negative 1 half x plus 8. Now I know what you guys are saying. How do I know if this is right? Well, just plug it in and you should get a true equation slash statement. So this is what I mean. Let's say I picked the point 14, 1, right? When we put it as an ordered pair, our x is 14, y is 1. Just plug it into the equation, meaning what? 1 is equal to negative 1 half times x, which is 14 plus 8. So now we're saying that 1 is equal to half of 14, that's going to be negative 7, plus 8. Now we know 1 is equal to 1. We both agree that's a true statement. In the next problem, we're dealing with linear functions. And yes, we understand that this is going to take the format y is equal to mx plus b. But the most important part of this problem is understanding what each part of the equation represents. So we're talking about the $200 for rent, the $5 for earrings that she sells, P for profit, and then N for the number of earrings she sells. So what they're asking us, or the biggest mistake students make is that they'll substitute 450 in for N. But understand that they said to us, she made $450. How much earrings did she sell? So what we're looking for is basically N, and this is the equation we would use to solve. So we add 200 on both sides, right? We get 650 is equal to 5n, and after we divide both sides by 5, we get 130 is equal to n. So for Lena to make $450 profit, she has to sell 130 pair of earrings. Now, before we go, smash the like button if you found this video helpful. And the next question I want to focus on, which they may ask you, is what is the minimum amount of earrings Lena could sell to stay profitable or to cover expenses? So if they ask you this question, the equation you're going to use, or what they're basically saying is, hey, for you to stay in business and at least cover your booth rent, meaning you made no money, right? $0. How much earrings do you need to sell? So this is the equation we would use. 0 is equal to 5n minus 200, because after we pay booth rent, we don't have any more money. So we move 200 to the other side. We have 200 is equal to 5n. And after we divide by 5, we know that n is equal to 40. So we know the minimal amount of shoes she could sell to stay profitable to make sure that she covers booth rent is 40. So they're asking us, what is the y value of the intercept of the line that contains the 2 points? So for us to figure this out, the first thing we need to do is go in and determine the slope, right? So m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when I simplify further, I'm going to say m is equal to 67 minus -5, right? Turns into addition, over 10 minus -8. Same thing happens on the bottom, turns into addition. So now we know m is going to be equal to 72 over 18. And anytime you have a fraction, y'all already know, always try to see if you can reduce the lowest terms. M is equal to 4. Now, with this piece of information, there is 2 ways we could do this. I'm going to show you the more complicated way first, and then I'm going to show you what Peters recommends. So the more complicated way is to come in and use the point slope formula. Y minus y1 is equal to our slope, x minus x1. We could use either or of these 2 points. I'm going to use 1067. So we have y minus 67, right, is equal to 4 times x minus 10. So y minus 67 is equal to 4x minus 40. Now we'll say y, let's put this step in. Let me show you that I add 67 on both sides. Y is equal to 4x plus 27. So if we made x0, we know that y is just equal to 27. This is one way to check. Now, the easier way, which I'm always going to recommend you, and why I show you, pick which one works. Think about this. Y is equal to mx plus b. So let's do it, right? What is y? We know y is what? 67 is equal to what? 4 times our x, which is 10, plus b. We're trying to figure out what b is. So 67 is equal to 40 plus b. We subtract 40 from both sides. And we know 27 is equal to B. B represents the y-intercept. So two ways for you to do the same problem. Pick what works best for you. And let's go on to our next example in this video. In this next problem, we're dealing with more graphs and identifying it based off the equation. Two ways I'm going to show you guys this. We're going to start off with the easier way. So after looking at this equation, it's in standard form, it's best to just graph by the intercepts. So we know what? We have 20 times x plus 12 times 0, right, is equal to 900. We could just skip this step and say 20x is equal to 900. We made the other variable 0. We divide by 20, right? X is equal to 45. So we're looking for an x-intercept that's 45. C, that looks like 75. D, this looks like 20 something. And then we go over to C, which looks like it's 60. So we know based off intercept, A has to be the correct answer. But for the video's sake, let's just check. So I do the same thing with Y. Made X 0, so we have 12Y is equal to 900. Once we divide by 12, Y is equal to 75, which this looks very accurate. So our correct answer is A. But before we go, I want to show you another way that I've seen students try to solve these type of problems and why you should avoid it. So let's say now we're in black, right? And we start off with our equation. 20x plus 12y is equal to 900. We put it in slope-intercept form, so we subtract 20x. So we have 12y is equal to negative 20x plus 900. So now we divide everything by 12. I'm sorry I'm being lazy, family, but just to video sake. So y is equal to what? Negative 20 over 12x plus 75. So right here, based off this equation, we could find a y-intercept very easy, which is 75. But if we use this method, we would have to now look at both A and C. And let's say you didn't understand how to properly work this and you went in and you said, okay, I'm going to solve for y. So now you made y 0, and this is equal to negative 20 over 12x plus 75. So now you subtract 75 on both sides and you get negative 75 is equal to negative 20 over 12x. Remember, this is first to solve the x-intercept. We made y 0. So now we have a fraction. We're going to multiply both sides by 12, right, to get rid of the fraction. So that's there. We go on the other side, multiply by 12. So now we have negative 900 is equal to negative 20x. And after we divide by negative 20, we would get the same answer. 45 is equal to x. But family, this is just too many steps. Graph by the intercepts if it's already in standard form. Really like this next problem because it's a very simple problem that students will overcomplicate. So when we look at this, what they're asking us is, based on this relationship, use the line to best fit and predict what the total sales will be when the store has 110 different rug designs. So just remember, the number of designs is on the x-axis, total sales is on the y. And if we look and analyze, we notice that the x-axis is labeled by tens. If you don't pay attention, you could incorrectly label this and get this wrong. So just please make sure you guys slow down and pay attention to that. And when we look at the y-axis, it's labeled by 5,000. So we have 5,000, we fill in 15,000, 25,000, 35,000, and 45,000, right? You don't have to fill it in, but you do have to take an account. So basically what they're asking us is, hey, how much money, or what is a close estimation if we sell over 110 rug designs? So we're talking about this X right here. And when we followed up to this line, this is the point we're talking about. And if we look over to the x-axis, right? Yes, it's not perfect, but we could assume that our answer is going to be D, 35,000. So just please make sure that you correctly analyze and interpret your graph and the axis so that this will be a very, very simple question. So we made it to the last question of this video, and family, thank you guys for continuing to watch. Really hope that this has been helpful. If it has, smash the like button. I'm going to make sure I break this last one down so you never get these questions wrong. So F, right? When we look at F, we should know that this has a zero slope. So yes, there is a slope, right? It would be something like 0/4. If we're looking for an equation, we would see something that says y is equal to 2 or y is equal to something. Okay? Now, when we go over to G, G is a positive slope, right? It's on an incline when we look at it from left to right. So an example of this would be m is equal to 2/5. That's a positive slope. If we're looking at an equation, y is equal to x plus 4. It could be something like that. Positive slope, x is positive. In H, this is going to be a negative slope, right? So as a negative slope, that means m is going to be equal to -1/2, -2, or something like -3/2, but m is negative. When we look at it as an equation, y is equal to -1/2 x plus 1, right? Or if we're looking at this and it went through the origin, it would just be y is equal to 1/2 x. Now I is going to be the correct answer. So I is the correct answer. This is an undefined slope. What does an undefined slope mean? Right? There is no slope, right? That means that 9 times out of 10, there is going to be a 0 in the denominator. Doesn't matter what the top number is. If the bottom number is 0, it's an undefined slope. If we look at an equation of an undefined slope, it's always going to say x is equal to, let's see, 3 or x is equal to -1, but it'll just say x is equal to something and it's going to be a vertical line. Really hope that this video on linear equations and slope on the EOC was helpful for you, math family. If it was, smash the like button for us, subscribe to the channel, and leave comments down below for future videos you'd like to see on our channel, or if you had a question from today's video. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.